Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Added Time FPL Fantasy Premier League Football Podcast. It's still a mouthful. We need to come up with something shorter to say. But welcome back off the back of a game week where a lot of managers hope to get points from Solanke with a triple captain, and he goes and misses a penalty. We said it last week. It's flashbacks of Dennis, who got negative points. Fortunately, Solanke scored a goal, so he managed to just ease the blow a little bit. But otherwise, welcome to the podcast. It's we're on Gameweek 29. Blank Gameweek 29.
Do you know how much depression Solanke caused with that slip?
Yeah,
for
I'm
a whole
sure.
week, people were sitting at home going, "What am I doing with my life?"
That was bad.
They triple captained him, and if you were looking at his score during that first game, he was sitting on negative points before he completed the game.
The only thing that softened the blow for me is that Man City assist didn't do anything as well. Foden and Haaland did nothing. I told you I took out Haaland, which was wild, but I mean, paid off.
Not only that, but you also had Barkley, which I thought was an astounding move from your side, because he's the one that actually
he got something
you ahead of me.
Yeah, he got something.
If it wasn't for Barkley, I would have not overtaken you overall, but at least got more points.
Yeah,
but we're there and thereabout because of Barkley. So well played on Barkley, and that brings me to this week's. I think he's a pick for my.
Oh, there you go.
For my blank free hit team, which everybody's doing right now. Everybody's trying to put together a team with their free hit if they have one, and this is the reasoning. A lot of people have already used their free hit. Now, unless you are like Nate the Great and are prepared for this blank game week, you might only have 3 or 4 players playing. And if you don't play your free hit and you only have 3 or 4 players playing, you can generally expect a massive green arrow this week. I mean, a red arrow.
Yeah.
The green arrows go to anybody who fools a full team and gets the right captain. So it's a good opportunity to pull ahead of the stragglers in your mini leagues who have accidentally played their free hit or didn't plan ahead well. So, or to keep pace with them if everybody in your mini league is playing it. Unfortunately, my mini league is led by Nate the Great, who has suggested not playing his free hit. Will field at least 9 players, I would think, this upcoming game week without even playing his free hit.
It'll be 10. I miscalculated and I'm annoyed because I took out Cash earlier a while ago and I never brought him back when I should have for this game week. I'll have one defender missing, but I'll field 10 players. So I'm happy. I can take a 0 for one player.
Cash has done nothing for the last 7 to 8 weeks.
I know.
I think you are okay with that. Whatever defender you brought in has scored more points in 7 weeks than Cash would have got you this week. I guarantee you that.
I will say I brought in Kirkes, which was a bit of a flop. And I'm annoyed because I was going to play Porro if I didn't make that transfer, but I wanted him for the game week. For the double game week, but it was no point because Porro just goes and scores. Well, gets a clean sheet.
Thank goodness I decided to match you and bring Son in.
I should have kept quiet about that move. I'm so annoyed.
Because Son is on fire and he's the informed player and he's my potential captain choice this week. So there was these goals coming from Spurs, and Aston Villa continues to be good, but then there was a home defeat, 4 goals. Even Chelsea beat them at home. So
yeah, who knows?
I don't know about Aston Villa. I don't know about Watkins.
Well,
Any surprise shocks for the week for you?
Surprise shocks. Let me pull up this point system. Well, if it wasn't for Son, I probably would have got no points this weekend. So I'm glad that he hauled.
Imagine if we captained him.
I know a few people did, but a surprise for me was actually Brighton keeping a clean sheet. I didn't think they were going to keep a clean sheet. It's a surprise for me because I had Van Heck still and Mr. Man got 6 points on my bench. So I've got I've got 13 points on my bench, which is very sad. Because Gabriel blanked and Kirk is blanked. So it's game's the game. You get it.
Gross gave me those points, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I really don't rate Forest at home, which I'm mentioning because this week Forest. I don't rate Forest away from home. I really don't.
And they're playing Luton.
They're playing Luton, but I rate Luton at home.
Yeah.
So in my draft for my free hit team, there ain't no Forest players, just Luton players.
No.
Not even alone.
Yeah.
I have some interesting players in my pick that we can go through. Ones that I think you would be like, really? Why?
Oh, okay.
I have to justify some of them, and some omissions that the scout has that I don't have, and I'm like,
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
could do that.
Okay.
But so just so everybody's clear out there, this week there are only 4 games because everybody else is playing in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So it's Brentford and Burnley, Luton and Forest, Fulham and Spurs and West Ham and Aston Villa are playing this weekend. You only have 8 teams playing. So everybody's got only minimal teams and you have to play a free hit if you want to stay ahead of the game.
Unless you've been cooking.
Unless your ingredients list has been ready for a while. Nate, can you explain to us, before we talk about any more about this free hit team, how you prepared to make your team ready without potentially eating your chip?
Okay, so over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been playing around the Luton double game week, and knowing Luton will not blank because they, for starters, had a game cancelled in the start of the season, so they had to replay it, which they played this last week. And also they're not in the FA Cup, so they definitely have a fixture this weekend. So I started maneuvering. Barkley was my first target, and then eventually Doughty, and then Morris. So I've maneuvered to have 3 Luton players for this week, which will all play. Same with the only stepping stone that I had was the Bournemouth, because the double game week and they blank, but it's fine. Spurs, I kept Porro when everyone was selling him because of this plan, and I got rid of KDB for Son again because of this plan. And then I did an earlier transfer this week for Mr. Phil Foden. Took him out and brought in Maddison. So I've got Maddison, Son, and Porro. So I've maxed out my Spurs. That just leaves 3 odd players. I've got Bowen. I always had him from the start. I wanted to bring him in when he was not doing anything. And I said, I have a feeling. I brought him in. He goes and scores 20 points. And I've held on to him because he's playing this weekend. And then obviously Watkins. Watkins is Watkins. And Areola. So I still am stuck with Solanke and Kirkins, but that leads me to my -4 point transfer. I don't think taking -8 is worth it because I'm happy to get 0 versus just 2 for -8. Then I've actually ended up with -4 or -6. So my last transfer is Solanke out for Ivan Toney. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be doing that. Yeah.
You a gambling man.
Yeah.
Betting man.
yeah. And then I'll have a blank defender. But I think that's good. 3 attackers, 4 forwards, 2 defenders, and the goalkeeper. I'm happy with that.
So everybody understands, the only reason Nate the Great can do this is because he hasn't played his January wildcard yet.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
There's no way you can get rid of Haaland, Foden, even Solanke to a degree going forward.
No.
You need to have them back next week.
Yeah.
And you can't have them back next week if you don't have a wild card, because you're not going to be taking -50.
Exactly.
So, although Nate the Great can afford to take -15, he'll still be ahead of me. However, he knows in previous years the end of the season is where I put loss.
I'm saving all my chips for as long as I can. Because, so here's the thing. So I'll probably wildcard in Game Week 30. So next week, just to reset my team again. And that team will be what I'll take through to the end of the season. And then I'll use a free hit for those odd double game weeks or blank game weeks. That's when I'll use it to pull away there. Because I think a lot of people now need to reset their team. So people are changing their team now for the end of the season. And then they'll free hit. I'm going to change my team later. So I'll have more of a window towards the end of the season to see what's going on. So that's the plan. We'll see if it works.
And I will have to do the opposite. I will have to plan for the double game weeks at the end of the season to make sure my team is ready for them.
And I can just
advance.
Activate free hit. Yeah.
Whereas you can take a bit more risks with your team and do strange things and then just go bam. Free hit into that. So I think that's going to be an interesting run into the end of the season. But let's talk about this free hit. Do you want to see my free hit video?
Well, speaking of free hits, let's see what we would do. Well, show me what you would do, and then I'll give you some opinion, because I know you're going to play your free hit.
Yeah, I've already hit it.
It's been hit. The free has been hit. So let's see what you got cooking.
Flicken. I don't rate Burnley's chances of actually scoring a goal, even though they're playing away from home.
Yeah.
So Brentford playing away from home. I don't even think Burnley will score. So I would think Flicken is a good defensive goalkeeper choice. And that brings me to my two other slots for Brentford.
Oh,
You and I both filling with Tony.
I like Wisa. Yeah.
His last couple of fixtures, I mean, they haven't done well, but he scored 5, 6, and 5 points. So that's 3 goals in his last 3. I wouldn't put it past him to get an assist or a goal this week. So I think that if you're going to load up on Brentford assets, to me, those 3 are the best because I can't find a decent defender from them.
I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like the Wisa pick. I looked at him and I was like, Wisa Wisa. So I do like that you've added him in there. And I think that he can get points as well.
But you got to keep Tony.
No, you have to go to Tony.
For this game.
Yeah.
I'll jump to Spurs because most people have a different combination of Spurs players. So obviously Pedro Porro is a standard, and I think Son is a standard. But the difference comes in that I pulled in Romero instead of Maddison.
Okay.
Now Maddison for me hasn't looked the same since he's come back, and Romero's been having such a flaming hot form the last couple of weeks, right? And Pedro Porro kind of just came back in and he's got that form. So for me, I trust Romero more than Pedro, but I'm not gonna, because there's only 8 games, 8 teams, 4 games. I'm not gonna not go with Pedro. So I'm going Pedro and Romero to solidify my defense. I know it's away from home, and I know it's against Fulham who can score goals, and Spurs can concede goals. But I feel like Spurs are in touching distance of even passing Man City soon, because they are like about 7 points off Man City, and they still have to play Man City, right?
Yeah.
So I think Spurs might also be in a phase of tightening up as the season winds down and them all tightening up their fixtures. Now, why would you say Maddison is a better pick over Romero?
I wouldn't say better. I think for me in my situation, Maddison was going to be going up in price anyway. And Maddison, I'm hoping that he returns and that if Spurs get something, he's at the center of it as he was earlier this season. I also just have to be honest with you and say I had a feeling. And I got to go with what my gut is saying. And I think Maddison's goal involvements will become key moving forward for Spurs. And I think this will be the week to do it against Fulham. I don't think Romero's a bad pick. I think he'll get points for sure. But I already planned my team around Maddison and Son.
I'm trying my best to anticipate that I can't predict if it's Romero or Pedro. So I got both. Because I think one of them is going to haul. I just don't know which one.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Now, for my Luton picks, and I went no Forest players, just Luton players. I think Doughty's a must-have.
I agree.
Not for this game week, not for your wild card.
Going forward,
He's your bench fodder. He's cheap, and also he's attacking for Luton. So if he's ever a chance when you need him, I think he's worth keeping around.
Yeah.
I jumped on the Barkley train. He's looking insane. He looks like the player he was at Everton back in the day. You can't go this game week without him. And so my only downside here is I couldn't find space for Morris. What do you think about that?
So, look, your front three, I prefer it, I think, over Morris. The only problem I have is the competition between Wisa and Tony. And I think that Morris against Forest at home is probably better than Wisa, just because, I mean, he has got a good history of scoring goals at Luton, and he has been scoring. So I just would have preferred Morris over Wisa.
It might be a change that I actually make and go to Morris. It's one that I'm considering, but I feel like Wisa. There's something about Wisa that could be the pick of the week. Like he's building.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It looks like I'm looking at him and I'm like, he actually might just get 10 points. But yeah,
So that's something to consider.
Yeah.
And if I did this, would you say this is more template if I went Wisa out and Romero out? So just trying to make it more template.
If I think template team is definitely you go in Madison and Morris. You probably take out Douglas Luiz, I would say, and then you go.
Okay, let me talk about Douglas Luiz for a second.
Okay.
Douglas Luiz has one of the best home forms. Okay, his home form is amazing, and he's playing at home.
You're not wrong.
So that's my reason why I brought in Douglas Luiz. And I think that if Watkins doesn't score, Douglas Luiz scores. If Watkins scores, Douglas Luiz good system. Douglas Luiz plays quite high up front. So I would say Douglas Luiz is an option.
This is the nervous part of my not playing a free hit, is that you can't target these key players because you don't normally target them throughout the season because they're one-hit wonders that often score every now and then. The thing is, Douglas Luiz is one of those players, you don't target him for the rest of the season, but he is the one-hit wonder. And it makes me nervous that you have him in your team. I won't lie. It's a good pick.
I just know his home form is amazing. And it's Bowen that's back in the middle there. And I think Bowen may be a consideration going forward for the rest of the season. But West Ham are as hot and cold as Garnacho. And I would argue that if you going to settle on Bowen for the rest of the season, how different is Bowen from Garnacho? Or Bruno Fernandes? Because Garnacho's sitting at 94 points. So he's done really well. And I think that I rate Bowen and Garnacho have the same up and down. How do you get beaten 4-0 by Aston Villa at home?
Yeah, well, that is West Ham, though. That's not Bowen. But like I say, I think West Ham need to refine their form. I think after Bowen was out for a bit, they kind of fell. But the thing is, it's kudos for Bowen that does it for West Ham. And I still think West Ham have some fight in them.
Bowen has a high ceiling.
That's the point. He does. A higher ceiling than Garnacho as well.
He can score 20 points like he did for you.
But his thing is, he's playing in a number 9 position. And he's a midfielder at FPL, which is also a big, big thing that we've spoken about before, is that people being out of position, playing in attacking roles are valuable assets. Like an 8 million midfielder is playing as a forward in a team or in a league that already doesn't have many forwards to choose from in FPL. So it's not the worst shout, whereas Garnacho is still on the wide or Fernandes is still in the center. So, yeah.
And Souček he's going to be my bench, but Souček
he's going to score a header.
With a header.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's going to do a bench, and it's fine, but he's going to score a header. I think the takeaway for me is this, and is you would go Madison in here over Romero, and you would go Morris over here in here instead of Wisa.
Yeah.
Any other players that you are missing that you think you definitely have or would have liked to have had?
Not necessarily. I think that's a pretty good team. It's pretty much on point with what I would be thinking if I was going to be playing my pre-hit. The only other variable you could look at would be Udogie, but I don't know if he's still out. Is he still out or is he back in?
He's kind of half in, half out.
So that's not really reliable. The one thing you could say and make an argument for instead of Wisa, but the thing is his form isn't the greatest, but is Iwobi. I know he scored in his last 3 weeks. He scored a goal in the last 3. 2 goals in the last 3, sorry. So you could look at Iwobi. He's just come back. But they are playing against Spurs, which is a tough fixture. But I mean, Iwobi might be a shout for the rest of the season. So it is worth to watch if you're looking for a bench fodder forward kind of a thing. Because if you go Haaland and Salah, you're not going to have much money. Iwobi's at 5.3, Wisa's at 5.6. So Iwobi's not a bad asset to hold him for the rest of the season if you're looking for some, like I was saying, if you're looking for some bench fodder, because if you're going to bring back Haaland, obviously, and Salah and Son and KDB, you're not going to have money. So, but for the free hit week, I think Wisa's not too bad. I like that team in general. I don't really think there's anyone else that I would take out.
I have some things to think about in terms of Morris versus Wisa,
yeah,
and Madison versus, I guess, Bowen, Barkley, or David Luiz. I have some thinking to do.
Yeah.
Here's a question though. Let's end the video with this, because this is, if everybody has a similar team, that's why I think Visa might help me push ahead.
Yeah.
But if everybody has a similar team, your captain choice is what's going to set you in the top 25% of everybody hitting their free hit. So you tell me, with your non-free hit team, your captain choice becomes even more important with that one missing player plus no bench.
Yeah.
Who is the captain this week?
At the moment, it's exactly set up like yours. Captain is on Son and the vice is on Tony. However, I have a funny feeling about Bowen because Villa just lost 4-0. I have a funny feeling that Bowen's going to get some points, and it is at West Ham. So I will be tossing it up between Son and Bowen. Bowen is definitely the safest pick, hands down. I'm 80% there, but I'm going to go do some fasting and think about Bowen.
I think you are on the money there. I feel exactly the same way, even about Bowen, because I know Son is the safe pick, but he's playing away from home.
Yeah.
And Bowen has that ceiling, but Bowen also has I said earlier, he's inconsistent sometimes. He'll hit that ceiling of 20, but he could hit 0. Whereas Son, I'm pretty sure, will score an average of 5 goals.
Yeah, 5 points. Yeah,
he will score 5
to
points
7
minimum.
Yeah.
He might not get 17 again. The law of probability also tells me he's less likely to get another haul, Son.
Yeah,
but
true.
it is the safest captain pick there is.
Yeah.
So everybody out there is going to be captaining Son. If they're not captaining Son, you're taking a risk on Bowen. You're taking a risk on anybody else. And I wouldn't take a risk on anyone else but Bowen. Maybe an outside chance on Watkins.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's between those.
I wouldn't go with a Wisa or Tony pick. They're not that good.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
but that's all we have time. We went over added time. Injury time.
Yeah, we nearly went to penalties here. No, but thank you guys for watching. That's pretty much the template. Roughly the template team. Mike's got some differentials in the hopes that he can pull away from the template team. But yeah, just to recap, for template team, you're taking out Weezy, you put it in Morris, and then you're probably taking out Douglas Luiz and putting in Madison, and then Romero for cash is kind of the template team. Anything else from there? You taking a gamble, so stick between those two. Use Mikyle's as the template team if you think it's better. I think it's better. Or go with the template team. Wish me luck, because I'm not playing a free hit this week. Mike is, so wish him luck, and we'll see what happens at the end of the game week. We'll be back next week.
I just need one good captain choice and I can pull ahead of you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's just once. Just once. Catch you.
And on that note, we'll end here. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.